have made it to Friday, and we are going to be working on our green pages, which is going to finish up lesson 9. We are moving right along on our area, and then we'll go back and review perimeter and put them all together. So this is lesson 29, green page. We're going to do 302, 303, 304, and 305. So let's get started. This is Friday. Today will be the 15th, January 15th. Right? So here's our example. Remember, we're taking a picture and we're breaking apart into multiple rectangles. This one was actually broken apart into 3. You can break them apart into as many rectangles as you want. Just make sure once you find the area of each part, you go back and add it together. So let's start with 14. What is the area of the shape below? And I'm just going to be honest with you. If they give me a shape like this, and all I have to do is find the area, I'm probably not going to bother with breaking it apart, because with this one, what can we do? We can simply just go through and count these squares. And since all they're asking me to do is find the area, that's what I would do. I would just number those squares, and all it wants is the area. I would write that area right on down and move along. I would not spend time breaking this apart and adding it back together. Even the little boy tells you there are at least 2 ways I could solve this problem. That's what I would do. Don't make things difficult. If you know, all I need to do is count squares, count your squares, and let's move on. 303, number 15 again. Do you see that they're squares? So I'm not going to break this one apart either. I'm just going to simply go through and count my squares. What is the total area? Well, there are 14 inches. Right here's our label. So 14 square inches. Done. Don't sit here. I'm not going to sit here and break it apart and make 2 multiplication problems and add them together. If they give me squares, I'm counting them. Now, number 16, I can't quite do that, can I? Wow. Look at 16. We need to find the total area of this shape. This has 3 rectangles. So if I draw a line here, I can make a really small rectangle. Does everybody see what I'm doing? Do I need to pull this up? I want you to see this. If I draw a line here, I can make a really, really small rectangle. I can do another line here and make a second rectangle that's a little bigger. And then the third rectangle at the bottom is the biggest. So we have 3 rectangles. Now I'm going to go through carefully, and I'm only going to find the numbers that go with each rectangle. So I'm going to start with the smallest. If I were to cover everybody up, what's my length and width of my little bitty rectangle up here? What's our length and width of this little one? 4 and 2. So for the top one, we're going to say 4 times 2. And I'm just going to write it inside that box. The one in the middle, we've got to think. Oh, our brains have got to be working today. This one has to know, we have to know, oops, I didn't mean to erase it. No erasing. We have to know what this whole side from here to here is. They do not tell me. They give me the numbers to use to figure it out, but they don't tell me how long this length is. I can see that this section is 2 because there's an arrow pointing and saying, hey, this little part right here is 2. I can see from here to here is 2 because there's an arrow pointing telling me that's 2. I can use the little rectangle and know if the top of this little rectangle is 4, then I know from here to here is 4. So what is my measurement all the way across the length of that rectangle. If I had 2, 4, and 2, what would that be for the whole thing? Let's add them together and find out. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So I know the length of this rectangle is 8, because all those numbers put together give me that length of 8. And then the short side, they have an arrow pointing, so I know it is 3. So for my middle one, I have to think. I have to come up with that side and get 8 times 3. So I'm going to write that down. We'll get our answers in a minute. So we have 4 times 2 for the small one. We have 8 times 3 for the middle one. For my big one, what numbers will I need? What's that longest side? 14. Good. We can see that. 14 all the way across. And my width is 4. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now let's go back and do our actual multiplying. So on our top, we got 4 times 2, which equals 8. I'm just going to write that down here. My middle one, we have 8 times 3, which equals, let me scoot my 8 over a little bit. So they're kind of going to be lined up. 8 times 3 is 24. And at the bottom, we have 14 times 4. Now, no, we don't learn our 14 facts. We could write 14 down 4 times and add it. But I'm going to break that up by the distributive property. How do we make 14? 14 made out of a 10 and a 4. So I'm going to break it down into 10 times 4 and 4 times 4. I know those. What's 10 times 4? 40. What's 4 times 4? 16. Now all I need to do is put everybody together. Put all the areas together, and that will give me my total. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 and 0 is still 12. 12 and 6 is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Put down my 8. Regroup. 1 and 2 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. So 88 would be my total. Now, is there another way we could cut this shape up? Absolutely. We could have cut it down this way and had a bunch of small squares and rectangles. That's just the way. I only wanted those 3, so that's how I did it. It is inches, and we are doing area. Now, look, be careful. Do y'all notice there are 2 88s? One of them says 88 inches. One of them says 88 square inches. Which one is the correct one when we're doing area? That's right. We have to square it. So don't rush and find 88 and just pick it. You've got to. That's why I tell you label, 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 label. Now, Sue picked C. What'd she do wrong? She did not square her answer, did she? She wasn't counting squares. She found the area, but she forgot to use the correct label. So that's what I'm going to say. She found the area, but did not, let's put did not use, the right label, L-A-B-E-L. She found the area, but she did not use the right label. She just wrote inches, and when we're doing area, we have to square because we're counting squares. If that was on a grid, we would be counting squares. She found the area, but did not use the right label. Okay, now it's time for you to try some. I would really encourage you to do these without me first, and then go back and watch this video to get your correct answers. So, but let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and go over them. Number 1, Mrs. Ambrosa drew the model below of her new patio and rock garden. What's the total area? So we know we're doing length times width. Let's break it apart. So here is her patio. We have 5 and 4, So 5 times 4 equals 20. For her rock garden, we have 5 stays because both sides are going to be 5. So 5 times 2, which is 10. That's her rock garden. What would be her total? Let's put both areas together. So 20 plus 10 gives us a total of 30. So which 30 do I want? Do I want C, 30 meters, or D, 30 meters squared meters? We're doing area, we want D, 30 square meters. Okay. Number 2, we have to have those labels correct. At the right are 2 rectangles that are joined together. Choose yes or no to tell whether joining the rectangles shown to the 2 rectangles above would make the shape that has an area, I'm going to underline that, of 98. We want it to have an area of 98, okay? So let's figure out what this area is. We can't figure out what we need to add to it if we don't know what we have. So we have 2 rectangles here, and they want us to put a 3rd rectangle with it, and we want it to all equal 98 when we're done. So what we have right now is 8 times 6 and 10 times 3. 8 times 6 is 48, good, and 10 times 3 is 30. So right now, we have 78 for a total. We just added those 2 areas together. Now we've got to figure out what we can add to this 78. Which one of these will add to it and give us 98? And we have to do all of them because we got to tell if it's yes or no. So let's start with A. I'm going to go ahead and write my 78 down. We know we're going to add to that. What would be the area of A? 8 times 3 is 24. If you add 24 with 78, let's see what that's going to give us. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that going to give me 98? No. All right, let's look at B. Again, I'm going to go ahead and write down my 78. We already know we have to use the 78 because that's what's up here. 10 times 2 is 20. If I add 20 to 78, I get 98. That is a yes. C. Again, we got to add to our 78. 5 times 4 is also 20. Well, we already did 20, didn't we? If I add 20, we already know that's going to give me 98, so that's a yes. Last one, we're going to add it to our 78 again because this is 78. 9 times 2 is 18. Let's see what 18 and 78. 8 and 8 is 16. Regroup. 7, 8, 96. Close, but that's a no. So B and C are our 2 that would equal 98 with the 2 rectangles already here. A and D did not. 305, and I believe that'll be our last green page. Oop, I went too far. I can't even read it, can I? Find the missing measurement in the shape. Find the missing measurements in the shape below, then break apart the shapes into the 2 rectangles to find its area. So we have 2 question marks. Let's see if we can't figure out what they are. If from here to here is 8, we can see that line is 8, then that means from here to here should also equal 8, right? Because that would be a full rectangle. Well, we know there's 5, so what's missing to turn a 5 into an 8? What's missing? You'll see my hands. 5 to an 8. I need 3 more. So this side should be 3 meters. 5 and 3 make the bottom of 8. if from here to here is 5, then that means from the top to the bottom over here should also be 5. We have 3, so 3 and what would make 5? 3 and what would make 5? 3 and 2. So this would have to be 2. 2 and 3 equal 5. You want both sides, the top and the bottom, to match. So the numbers on the top should equal the number on the bottom. The number on the left should equal the numbers on the right. Now we're going to cut it. Again, Ms. Coleman likes to do the shortest way possible. It doesn't matter how you cut it. I'm just going to do a small rectangle and a big rectangle. But you could go straight down if you want. If I start with this top rectangle here, I'm going to use the 2 question marks because they go with it. So that's going to be 3 times 2, which is 6. My big one, be careful. I only want to use the numbers that go with it, so that's 8 and 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Now to get my total, I need to add these together. So 24 and 6. 10, regroup. So I get 30, and they've already labeled it for me, 30 square meters. Now, you may have gone a different way. You might have done 5 times 3 and got 15, plus 5 times 3, well, 15 and 15, right? Had to think. You might have done 15 plus 15, but you still would end up with 30 as your total, okay? Last question, number 4. Opal drew the model of a picnic table. What's the total area? Show your work. Okay, so at least they give us room here to work. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. Y'all, they're squares. They're exactly the same on every side. 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet. We're doing the same thing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times because we have 5 squares. So to get the total, I'm going to find 3 times 3, and I'm going to do that for every rectangle. And we just said there are 5 of them for every square because they're the same. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that 3 times 3 is 9. I could do another multiplication problem here because I'm repeating the same number, or I could add all those up. That's a lot of numbers to add. I'm just going to say, well, I have 5 9s, or 5 times 9, and get 45. Oops. So my answer for my total would be 45 square feet. We have 5 squares that are 3 times 3. And so that gave us 5 9s. And 5 9s would give me 45. That completes today. That completes all of your lesson 29. So you are going to now go to your red pages and tear out one page, which is 317, and work the front and the back.